I now call the September 20th, 2016 regular council meeting to order. Would council members please denote your presence by depressing your yes switch?
All members are present.
Okay. Council meetings are also televised and can be viewed on cable channel 192. I've been told that Jaden Shaw is prepared to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. Jaden, would you please come forward? Okay.
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And before everybody sits, could we please have a standing moment of silence for the loss of Brian Scott Gamroth? Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to approve by minute action the minutes of the September 6th, 2016 regular council meeting as published in the Casper Star Tribune on September 13th, 2016.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilman Hopkins, seconded by Councilman Johnson. Corrections? I would like a correction noted. Citizen who came to speak to council, her first name was misspelled, so please make those corrections. Please cast your votes, and please record the vote.
With the correction noted from the mayor, motion passes.
Chair would entertain a motion to approve by minute action the September 20th bills and claims as audited by City Manager McDonald.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilman Miller, seconded by Councilman Powell. Abstentions? Please cast your vote, and please record the vote.
With all members voting aye, motion passes.
Okay. Jaden Shaw did something over his summer break that we'd like to recognize tonight. He decided he wanted to do something for the shelter dogs at Metro, so he met with manager Tori Walsh. Together they shared some ideas and he went to work. On August 10th, which also happened to be Jaden's 9th birthday, he organized and hosted Jaden's Fun Run. Jaden's event was a huge success, and after he calculated his profits for losses, he had $1,200 in proceeds that he wanted to help go to the abandoned and unwanted dogs at Metro. With Jaden's efforts, he was able to provide 22 large elevated dog beds for kennels. Even after Jaden had shipped them to the shelter, he came up after school and even helped put them together. Jaden's selfless contribution of time and talent are inspirational, and Metro is proud to have him part of their team. Tori Walsh is here tonight, and she would like to present Jaden with a plaque. So Jaden, would you please come forward? Come all the way behind me, and we're going to do the picture thing with the shaking of the hand and the presenting of the plaque. Congratulations. Good luck. And she will give you the plaque. Smile. That's very nice initiative from a young citizen. Council will now address the main portion of the meeting. Council carries out action by 3 types of action: by ordinance, resolution, and minute action. Ordinances require 3 readings and votes, whereas other items are passed by 1. Ordinances create or modify local law, whereas resolutions and minute actions provide for council to carry out business. These various actions have different publication and public hearing requirements. Items may be considered by consent or not consent. Consent items are typically routine and will not be discussed by council. Items not listed as consent will be discussed by council, and there is a process for the public as well as council to remove a title from consent for that public discussion. Council will now consider establishing the schedule of future public hearings, which are held for the purpose of obtaining public input. Public hearings are held for items such as annexations, liquor license transactions, passing of the budget, and zone changes. Public hearings are also require public notice via publication in the newspaper. Please read the consent agenda titles.
Establish October 4th, 2016 as the public hearing date for consideration of a zone change of lots 5 and 6 Standard Oil Company subdivision located at 911 CY Avenue and 1535 South Poplar Street from R2 1-unit residential to C2 general business. Establish October 18th, 2016 as the public hearing date for consideration of the following 2 items. Transfer of ownership for retail liquor license number 3 from Poor Boys Holdings LLC located at 739 North Center to Triple C Food and Beverage LLC located at 739 North Center. Transfer of ownership for retail liquor license number 18 from Casper Hospitality Group LLC doing business as Wonder Bar located at 256 South Center to 30H7 Hospitality LLC located at 256 South Center.
The chair would entertain a motion to, by minute action, establish the public hearing dates just read.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Vice Mayor Kathy, seconded by Councilman Hopkins. Any abstentions or nay votes? Please cast your vote. And please record the vote.
With all members voting aye, motion passes.
Council will now hold previous scheduled public hearings for the purpose of obtaining public input. Public hearings are held for items such as annexations, liquor license transactions, passage of the budget, and zone changes. The city attorney will present applicable exhibits for the issue, and the city manager will give a report. Members of the audience will then be asked to speak either in favor or against the issue, and then the council will discuss the issue and act upon it if necessary. I now declare the first public hearing open for the consideration of the fiscal year 2017 budget adjustments related to the Casper Events Center. This public hearing relates to the proposed contract with Global Spectrum LP for the management of the Casper Events Center. Acting upon this proposed budget amendment is dependent on the City of Casper authorizing the management contract. Therefore, the chair would entertain a motion to, by minute action, continue this public hearing to a special council meeting to be held on Tuesday, September 27th, 2016 at 6 p.m., subsequent to the council considering the contract with Spectrum.
So moved. Seconded.
Moved by Vice Mayor Kathy, seconded by Councilman Miller. Please cast your vote. And please record the vote.
With all members voting aye, motion passes.
The publication requirement to hold the next public hearing was not met. A new public hearing date has been established to allow adequate publication time. Therefore, the chair would entertain a motion to, by minute action, cancel the public hearing concerning the zone lot change, lots 5 and 6, Standard Oil Company subdivision located at 811 CY Avenue and 1535 South Poplar Street.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Hiley, seconded by Councilman Johnson. Please cast your vote. And please record the vote.
All members voting aye, motion passes. And Mayor, if I may, I had a typo. That should be 911 CY Avenue instead of.
Oh, thank you.
That's my error.
So we're going to get that corrected. Thank you. I now declare the public hearing open for the consideration and review of the fiscal year 2015-2016 Community Development Block Grant Consolidation Annual Plan Evaluation Report. City Attorney, do you have any exhibits?
I do, Your Honor. I have 2 exhibits for this item. Exhibit number 1 being correspondence from Liz Becker to V.H. McDonald, dated September 12th, 2016. And exhibit number 2, that being the affidavit of publication as published in the Casper Star Tribune, dated August 26th, 2016.
City Manager McDonald, your report, please.
Your Honor, the City of Casper is an entitlement community for the receipt of U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Community Development Block Grant funds, and as such, we must submit a comprehensive annual performance and evaluation report, or a CAPER, which details to HUD the use of the CDBG Community Development Grant funds that have been received. The report is developed in the information system provided by the Housing and Urban Development Department, and it covers a period from July 1st, 2015 through July 30th, 2016. In meeting this requirement, the city is required to have a public hearing to obtain any input from the community about the use of CDBG funds. There's no action on this item, but it is a period for public input.
Thank you. At this time, I would ask those individuals who wish to speak regarding the Consolidated Annual Action Plan Report to please approach the lectern. Anyone wishing to speak regarding the Consolidated Annual Plan Evaluation Report, the CAPER? Anyone care to speak on behalf? Okay. There being no one to speak for or against. Yeah. Did I mess that up? Yeah. Okay. No one to speak. Involving the issues concerning the Consolidated Annual Plan Evaluation Report, I now declare the public hearing closed. This item requires no action by the City Council. All comments received from the public comment period and this public hearing will be incorporated into the final report, and the final report will be submitted to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development no later than September 30th, 2016. At this time, no further action is needed by Council. Consideration of the next items will be by ordinance. Please read the consent ordinances on second reading by title only.
An ordinance approving a replat, subdivision agreement, and zone change for the proposed Wolf Creek 8 addition in the city of Casper, Wyoming. An ordinance approving a replat, subdivision agreement, and zone change for the proposed Central Wyoming Rescue Mission addition in the city of Casper, Wyoming.
Chair would entertain a motion to approve on second reading the consent ordinances just read.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Councilman Humphrey. Any abstentions or nay votes? Please cast your vote. And please record the vote.
With all members voting aye, motion passes.
Council will now consider consent resolutions. Please read the consent resolutions by title only.
Item 9A1, a resolution authorizing an agreement with the University of Wyoming for the provision of public outreach and educational services at the Wyoming Extension Facility at 2011 Fairgrounds Road. Item 9A2, a resolution adopting the event sponsorship financial support policy. Item 9A3, resolution adopting the business travel training and employee moving expense policy. Item 9A4, a resolution authorizing an extension to the lease agreement with Central Wyoming Senior Services, Inc. for the operation of the Senior Citizen Center located at 1831 East 4th Street.
The chair would entertain a motion to adopt the consent resolutions just read.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Hopkins, seconded by Councilman Powell. Any abstentions or nay votes? Please cast your vote. And please record the vote.
With all members voting aye, motion passes.
Council will now consider minute action items. These are business items that do not require a resolution. Please read the consent minute action titles.
Item 10A1, authorizing expenditures of fiscal year 2017 community promotion funds for the community promotion events as outlined in staff's report dated September 20, 2016, and authorizing the city manager to execute necessary agreements. Item 10A2, authorizing the purchase of 2 new max side load sanitation trucks with weighing 27 cubic yard curb tender G4 bodies with options from CMITCO of Mills, Wyoming for use by the Public Services Department. Item 10A3, authorizing the purchase of 4 new Ford Fusion sedans from Griner Motor Company for use by the Casper Police Department. Item 10A4, authorizing the purchase of 1 new front-end loader with options from Wyoming Machinery Company.
Chair would entertain a motion to approve the consent minute action agenda items just read.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Councilman Humphrey. Any abstentions or nay votes?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like a nay vote on 10A1.
Any other abstentions or nay votes? Please cast your vote. And please record the vote.
With Councilman Kathy voting nay on item 10A1, motion passes.
Now it's time we invite anyone in the audience who wishes to speak with the council to come forward. We ask that you please state your name and address. Anyone care to speak to council tonight? Welcome, Mr. Zimmerly.
Thank you. Dale Zimmerly, 3035 Bel Air Drive. With the passing of Brian Scott, that many of us knew, I rode motorcycles and knew him from that and prayed with him before. And from what I realize is a lot of people really don't know how to pray, even though the Lord Jesus Christ gives us a great example in the Bible from Matthew 6, 9 through 13. And I'm going to pray that right now. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. That was an example from Jesus on how we are to approach the Lord with prayer, and hits on some key things. And if anybody would ever like to discuss on a good way to pray, look in the Bible or come talk to another Christian, and we'll share with you how to pray and why we pray, because the Lord will answer prayers, and it's very important. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to address council? Please come forward.
Dennis Steensland, 533 South Washington, Casper, Wyoming. I should have got in ahead of him before the prayer session. That would have been a little easier. I noticed that before trade-in, I was questioning that. Why do we list dollar figures before trade-in? On police cars, for one, it seems like it's the second time we've bought police cars since I've been coming. And I see 12 of them parked over there every time I come down. So explain why we got to have more police cars and why we publish figures before we get a trade-in allowance, I guess is the question.
Well, I would assume the short answer to the figures question is we don't exactly know how much we're going to get in trade-in, but you basically start the negotiation to buy, and then you can adjust the figures afterward. VH, is that a good way of responding to that?
Your Honor, that's correct. And in some cases, we actually have a casualty loss, and we end up losing the vehicle through a wreck or something. So we leave that option open through the finalization of the purchase.
Okay. So the short answer is it's a process of purchase before finalization.
Okay, I understand that part. Why do we still need more cars? We're in a tight situation, and it seems like we're still spending money when we've got cars sitting over there. And I understand why the cars are sitting over there, but it seems like that's someplace where we could put it off for a couple of years.
Well, I'm guessing, I don't know for sure, but my guess would be that a police car is put through the paces like no other vehicle on the planet. Starts, stops, wear and tear, they are used a lot. So I would assume that you have to maintain your fleet and you wear them out pretty fast.
May I, Your Honor?
Sure.
Thank you. This question does come up with really all of our purchases, but there's and correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, EH, but there's been a fair amount of research done on how long can you run any piece of equipment that the city owns before you get to a point where the cost of upkeep basically overtakes the cost of replacement. And that's been done with all of our vehicles, including the police vehicles. And so we're on a standard replacement schedule. We don't wait till they break down. We wait till they reach a certain point in mileage or years of service, and there's a schedule basically that's followed for all of these purchases. And I don't know how the science was done, but essentially it was determined to be the most cost-efficient way for us to maintain a fleet. Is that a fair description?
It is, Your Honor. It's we have 3 criteria to evaluate replacement: age, mileage, and repair costs. And I would not be surprised that some of these police vehicle replacements are replacing the fairly old Dodge vehicles from quite a few years ago with the newer vehicles. So it's a continual replacement process.
And it's really a continuation of the replacement that we started when we went car for officer, what, about 3 or 4 years ago?
We're probably not yet replacing any of the additional fleet we bought. We may be getting close a few years from a few years ago, but regardless of how many we have, we still have cars that are aging out and need replaced.
So I don't know if that helps, Mr.
Yeah, that pacifies my curiosity, I guess. The last question, the authorizing expenditure community promotion funds, is that related to the Eclipse thing that's coming up and also the downtown development project?
There's a packet of community promotion requests, and I don't remember, was there an Eclipse event?
There was not.
Okay.
Nothing for 42 total.
Okay.
42 total, for a total of $91,000.
Right. And
So 95,000.
So you're saying there's 42 small projects that add up to 91, and they're not tied in with these 2 per se. Okay.
right.
Thank you. One question for,
May I just want to,
Yeah.
because I appreciate you bringing up the community promotions, because I think it would be good to clarify to folks that well over 2/3 of that allocation was not cash for community promotions. It was basically a reduced fee for use of our facilities.
Okay, well,
I think it was about two-thirds, wasn't it? So,
one last question for Mayor Sandoval.
Okay.
Last time's note said you were gonna meet with the state, something to do with the parking lot. I called your number, I didn't get a return, so can you go into that a little bit?
That was regarding the property that the state is looking to purchase. And we met with the business council, and we wanted to make parking a part of that negotiation, and the answer from the state was a very firm no. But rather than destroy the entire project and perhaps maybe even mess with a $40 million building project from the state to consolidate their offices in downtown Casper, we decided that we didn't want to push parking that hard. That the city of Casper's got other options when it comes to parking. So we weren't going to make that a problem, and the message from the state was, no, that's not going to be a condition of sale.
I see. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Stevenson? Yes. With regard to the community promotions, and Councilman Powell alluded to it, of the money that was appropriated tonight, 25,791.76 was for in-kind services, and 38,295 was for facilities at basically half price. So that's, and the remainder of that then was cash. And if you're interested, my no vote was because of the cash.
Right.
Hi, Nikki Tucker.
Hello.
Hi. So I apologize that this may have been a matter at the last council meeting you guys had, but I wanted to address the water bill issue.
Okay.
I just wanted to know what, if any, outcome there's been, any resolution. I've called the water company. I go in every month. Unfortunately, I think myself and my husband are the only people that showed up tonight, so it doesn't really say a whole lot about the ongoing problem that everybody seems to have, and nobody's showing up to do anything about it. So this is my first meeting. I'm not really sure how to address you guys. Just that it is a continuing problem that everyone seems to be calling the water company. Our bills still have spiked, tripled, quadrupled, and there doesn't seem to be any resolution on our end.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Something that was noted, we had a Joint Powers Water Board meeting today, which the Joint Powers Water Board is actually responsible for operating the water treatment plant. And every month, every month, we get a chart that shows the last 10 years by month.
Okay.
If you're comparing this year's August or July to last year's July as an example, of that 10 years, last year's July was the third lowest water production by that plant in the last 10. This year's July was the third highest of all of the Julys over the last 10 years. So there is a significant change last year to this year. Now, I also went back and looked at my bill, and something that you may want to look at is the days in the billing cycle, because I noticed that some of my bills were 28 days and some of them were 35 days. And so if you went from a 28-day billing cycle to a 35-day billing cycle, that would give you a 25% increase in your bill, even if you used the same thing every day. So as a message to the general public for looking at these, it would be wise to look at your billing cycle and take the usage, divide it by the number of days, month to month, and see how that usage is going. Because what I found when I divided mine out is my 35-day billing cycle, I had the same per-day usage as what I did on my 28-day cycle, even though my bill was 25% higher. So the usage was there, it was just because of where the days were cut off. But the other thing is I would visit, have you called Mr. Meyer in the Public Service Department?
I have not.
That would be the next place that would be to go.
Okay.
Because that's where we're going to refer the people. And I'm sorry, I don't have Mr. Meyer's phone number off the top of my head. I think our city manager, Mr. McDonald, is getting that for
Much
you.
appreciated.
But- But those are a couple of things to take a look at, because those were some things that I noted from our water board meeting and from last council meeting. I went home and asked my wife to pull out our water bills, and that's one thing I noticed right off, is that there was a big discrepancy in number of days.
And there seems to be, and like I said, it's very unfortunate, not very many people have shown up. I don't know what kind of impact that has on you guys, just knowing that there are 400 plus comments on social media and everybody's still having such a high water bill. I figured this was my first step. I should come here and maybe ask questions or see what I need to do to go forward.
And like I said too, the water plant put out extra water.
So that,
Yeah, there was higher usage.
oh, mine's considerably higher.
Oh,
Mine's
yes.
Considerably higher for my
Do
usage.
you have that chart by any chance, Charlie?
And the other things that we discussed the last time was that this was an unusually hot summer of July and August, and a lot of people were just irrigating to keep things alive. There's a press release, I believe, to the effect that if you think that your water bill is in error, then you contact Pete Myers. You got that number?
He's going to.
And they can check out your meter, and they'll see if it's working correctly.
They did, so I'm still waiting, and apparently there's a 3-month or 3-week. Now, they're 3 weeks out from checking meters because people are making the phone calls, but I noticed my bill for this month is even higher, even after I shut off our sprinkler system. And I was on the news last time, I just was unable to attend the meeting, so I figured I better
Okay.
try to make it in tonight.
Well, let's,
Start with a phone call.
yeah,
Okay,
start with that, and he'll see what he can do.
okay, thanks.
All right?
And going back to the chart that I was looking at, I don't know whether you can put it up or not, but basically, and I'll hand this to VH so he can, well, yeah. Yeah. And that may be hard to see.
Right there.
There we go. From here to here is the month of July. And you can see here is July of 2016, and that was the water that the water plant itself put out. So that's why I was saying I was wrong. It was the third highest. It may have been the second highest in the last 10 years. So the usage is out there. This is August, which here is August. And August would be the fourth highest over the last 10 years. So we are producing at the water plant, so somebody is using considerably higher water July and August than they have for several years in the past years.
Okay,
Okay?
all right, thank you.
This is coming from, and all we do is sell wholesale water, so.
Great. That makes sense.
Yeah, but that's something that I wanted to make sure that people understood and saw.
Okay,
And some other things that came out at that previous discussion. The rates were set in early 2016. I think it was January, February. January. And they went up by 3.6%.
which could be affecting our bill as well.
3.3 in the neighborhood between 3 and 5% is pretty standard for bringing up your rates. That's so that people don't get a huge shock if the rates were to go up more than that.
Right.
So that's essentially just covering the costs. And, so So the rates went up in January, they're gonna go up by 3.5% scheduled for next year.
So it's annually, they do that?
And that's so people don't get sticker shock. If you have to raise the rates 10% a year or something like that, that would be a dramatic change. The other thing is, and I was thinking about this when I was talking to Paul Pat, was, you know, he was describing a situation where people were on vacation and, you know, maybe a toilet was running and you need to jiggle the handle, or there's a leak or something, you know.
That's when they interviewed with the water company, that's what they said. Basically, what I gathered from it was that everybody has a leak or everybody has a running toilet. I can't speak for anybody else. Our house is newly remodeled. We shut our sprinkler system off, and I still saw a spike in August. I'm not sure what my September bill will bring. And the usage is 40,000 gallons plus, which is unreal to me if we aren't running a sprinkler system or, you know, the dishwasher every day. But I am waiting to hear back on my meter reading, so I just wanted to see if there was anything else that I could do, or.
Okay,
If I may, Your
Charlie,
Honor.
and then
Oh, I'm sorry,
Bob.
Bob, I didn't know. Regarding the increases, I think since this is on part of our discussion now, I think people, why do you have to increase the water rates 3 or 4% every year? The primary driver of that is the chemicals that are used to treat the water, and those seem to be going up in cost much faster than the rate of inflation. And so since we have to break even on it, we obviously have to increase rates so that we can cover the cost of those chemicals, which are very pricey and essential, obviously.
And getting pricier all the time. Bob?
Yeah, a couple things need to remember. If you think there's a problem in your system and you think you've got everything off, you can go down and look at your water meter, and there's a little thing down there, and if everything really is off, it's not turning.
It didn't.
There's a little meter.
We've done it all.
Okay, so there's no leaks.
No.
That would indicate that there's probably either an error in the meter or you're consuming the water. So the other thing you have to think of is that typically, I think our meters will read easily within 1% or better.
Right.
So it does correspond pretty well with the graph, or at least mine corresponds reasonably well with the graph of when my highest water usage was.
Right.
So, and I think we have to also understand that our rates, and it's been a while since I've looked at this, but our rates in Casper are typically some of the lower in the state because we help subsidize that with some 1% money.
Thank goodness.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
just food for thought.
No, I appreciate it. Like I said, it's unfortunate I happen to be the only one who showed up tonight. I feel like, what's the point of, you know, everybody getting upset and complaining if they're not, you know, willing to come out and question or figure out what we need to do. I mean, we can't solve anything, we can't go forward or see what we need to do if they're not willing to come down here and stand together. So figured this was my first step.
Right.
Thank you.
But even if you had a whole cadre of supporters behind you, the message would essentially be the same.
You feel like if there were 30 people in the room, I understand facts and statistics,
Right.
but we're all saying collectively as a community that we are turning our faucets off. We are not running our dishwashers. We are not using our sprinkler systems, yet the water company is telling us that our usage is 4 times as much, whether there's 28 days in a billing cycle or 35. You would tell us collectively as a whole that we are all 40 people, that the facts are the facts?
Essentially, yes. Yes, I would.
Your Honor.
Yes.
If you don't mind, Ms. Tugger, I'm going to prolong this just a little longer.
Okay.
My knowledge of this is fairly good. I've been an engineer and I've metered water for most of my career in one way or another. For your water bill to go up, there's only 2 ways it can happen. The meter is failing, the meter reading was recorded wrong, or the rates changed. And we know that the rates didn't change, and we know that the city has responded to your request by changing out and testing the meter. The only other thing that could be is that systematically the math is being done wrong, because you take the rate times the consumption to determine the bill. So I think that the city staff has responded appropriately by checking your meter and confirming the reading and the accuracy of the meter. Beyond that, there's very little that the city can do, but we do have a policy that if we find errors in meters and they're more than 3%, and that we'll reimburse the errant billing. So I think the city, this subject came up 2 weeks ago, and council did consider information and requested that the city water department staff continue to rigorously pursue these issues. I think the city is accurately and appropriately responding to these concerns.
The two gentlemen that did show up last time, actually, I don't know if it's coincidence or not, their meters tested good, and then they received a phone call the next day that their meter readings were not good, so they actually did get a credit on their bill. That's not why I'm here. Like I said, this is my first time addressing anybody, and I just need to know what I need to do. And I am waiting on a phone call. Like I said, they're about 3 weeks out, so I just wanted to see what kind of resolution, if any, there was.
And if they fail to respond, then that is a concern that we certainly would like to hear back from you about.
I have my little notebook with everybody's name, and every time I go in there, which they're very nice, they've got a job to do too. I just find it hard to believe that this many people in town have a discrepancy in their water bill, so. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to address council, please step forward.
I have no issues with my water bill.
Okay.
The fellows did stop by and check mine without me calling. What I do have a question about is, how many detectives do we have on adult sexual crimes in our community? And how long does it take them to respond to one of our citizens who has been assaulted or saying they've been assaulted?
While
Point
some,
of order, Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
could we get your name and address for the
Oh,
record?
sorry,
please?
Christine Cromie, 6500 Buckboard.
Thank you.
okay. While I'm not sure of the number of detectives, and with regard to the issue that you're referencing, I think it's really important to mention that I personally share your outrage, and
Very disturbed.
and we have a judicial system, not a justice system.
Yeah.
I wish she could find justice, and I don't want to make excuses. I don't want to apologize. I can't make excuses because she's heard too many already. But there is a process, and if there's a misstep, she could actually hurt her case.
Okay.
And so I will pursue that question.
Okay.
Is the police department adequately staffed with regard to detectives and victim services? That is a legitimate question, and we will pursue that question.
Okay. I don't know the victim personally. I was just disturbed to hear her story and compelled to come.
Absolutely, and these cases are tricky, and that almost sounded like me making an excuse for the justice system, but it's a judicial system.
Yes.
And things have to be handled according to process.
Okay. So when can we find out how many detectives are assigned to adult sexual crimes?
I will pursue that question.
I appreciate that. Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I look forward to answering.
Hello. Mary Ann DiVittorio, 222 West B. I just have a curious question. In the September 6th council notes on bills and claims, there's an item for Bank of America for goods for $307,000 odd. What is that, please?
Probably P card.
Isn't that just goods and services?
Your Honor, that's a compilation of all the goods and to an extent services purchased through the city's P card system, purchase card system.
Okay, purchase card system.
Oh, for the cards
Yeah,
that were in question? Okay.
right.
Has that been resolved? I did read how they're supposed to be used.
Right, and I'm going to brag on the city manager here because he's revising that system so that different departments aren't racking up charges.
I noticed.
And that the P cards are actually a better way to track purchases and to keep things more easily accounted for.
Good, good. Well, I'm sure VH does a good job.
Yeah, that was his initiative.
The other thing was on the caper money, I have to congratulate them. They did a good job. Really did. Okay.
Yeah, Joy works really hard and she understands that bureaucracy like few others.
Thanks.
Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Sweeney.
Good evening, Your Honor. Pat Sweeney, 951 North Kimball. Sorry I was late this evening and missed what I should have been here for. Two things. On the water bills and the billing, is it not correct that you've changed companies as far as processing the billing and direct mailing and the way in which we can pay also through this new company has been able to process payment from a lot of different directions from what we've done in the past?
I'm not sure, actually, and I'm on both the CPU and the Regional Water Board, so the fact that I can't answer a yes or no question is sad. VH, please help me out.
Your Honor, I believe we renewed the contract with Postal Pros, which has been the same company the city's always had since it outsourced its bill printing. And I believe that was last year, several months ago, we renewed that contract.
Okay. So
Same company.
So my confusion comes from, I was thinking that there was some administrative change where they put the billing into the finance department?
It's always been there.
Okay.
There's not been any.
All right. I'm not sure what I'm thinking about.
Well, I just a thought was if something was changed, is it possible, just a possibility that something happened in a computer glitch with a .00007 clear out there that may have affected not all bills, but a certain sector, depending on how Lord knows I know nothing about computer programming. But right. I'm just saying, is that a minute possibility, and perhaps that's already been tested and looked at?
Well, we didn't change contractor for the billing. We're still using the same one, but that's an idea. Have we considered?
Your Honor, I'll go back to the report from Pete Meyer that they reviewed the systems for everything they could review. I think it was his report, I believe, and did not find anything that came out. We have 22,000 accounts, I believe, the latest count right now, and they all bill the same way, through the same routine continually, unless there's a district issue about the reading equipment. But again, going back to Pete's representation, that systemically they looked at everything they could look at and everything worked out okay.
Okay. Thank you. I just was a question. The real thing was thank you for the comments on Brian. And on behalf of, really shouldn't be saying on behalf of the family, but on behalf of the family, thank you for all the outreach. We've had several more tough days to get through, but thank you to the city for allowing us to put the event on Monday. We really would encourage folks to show their respects through that venue, 3 o'clock Monday at the Casper Event Center. And there won't be any refreshments or any reception afterwards, but we want you to feel free to come up, join us to honor Brian. Thank you.
Anyone else to address council? Please come forward. Anyone else to address council? Okay. Do we need to go around the table?
Want to start with me?
Yeah.
Thank you, Your Honor. I don't know that there's anything any of us can add to what the community is going through. I'll say what everyone else has been saying, that we lost a treasured member of our community, and it's going to be a tough go for all of us to get through this. Can't think of anyone that's cared about Casper and all of us more than Brian Scott Gamroth. And he would, of course, want us to carry on, and so we will. With those remarks, the only other thing I have to say is that Brian was a member of the Downtown Development Association. One of his passions was downtown development. I'm sure you're all aware that we are moving forward with the Davis Street Station project, and that all of those buildings have been cleared. And these are exciting times. I would like to remind people that the amount of public funding for that project is actually much less than half of the total cost, and that for us to achieve this dream, which was also Ryan's dream, requires us to all dig into our own pockets and make contributions. The White Knights are not doing quite so well these days, that we've always relied upon for private donations, and so more of the burden falls on each of us. And so there are many worthy projects in this community, but I would like to make a pitch for this one. And if we're going to have this happen, we all need to stop waiting for other people to take action and look at our own involvement and our own contributions. And if you wish to make a contribution, the DDA would be happy to hear from you. And I'm sorry, I will also note that members of the DDA board, without being too specific, have made substantial personal contributions to the project.
Councilman Hopkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last week we had an Amico Rees Joint Powers Board meeting, and probably one of the most significant things, we've had some issues out there with people parking in the median and in areas where we didn't really want them to park. So we approved last week some money to gravel a couple of spots where people can park and get better access to the trails. So hopefully we'll get that done before the snow flies. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Thanks. Councilman Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just thought I would address one of the items that we talked about in our meeting today, and that was our community promotions funding. and kind of maybe get some light on the process of how we went and do that. We had the applications that were submitted to us, and basically what we're able to do is able to prepare a budget for the amount of money that we're going to spend on these things, figure out which ones we're actually legally able to contribute to, and move forward on that. And these are actually some tough decisions that we've got to sit here and make, because there's a lot of different things in there, and it affects a lot of different portions of our community. And I would encourage you all to take a look at actually where those funds are going. And obviously, in times like this, it's easier for us to focus on in-kind contributions as opposed to cash. But what we had done is we all took a vote on these things, and it was a vote via a spreadsheet and how we put those funds together in there. And it actually was city staff who compiled that, and that's what came up for that recommendation of the $90-some thousand for that. Just thought I'd bring some light on that. For the amounts that we all voted on, it's sitting out there, and the amounts that we finally ended up with was in our council packet today. And my goals with that is to try to spread what we can out as far through the community as possible, not just to certain things, but to everyone who we're actually legally able to fund through those projects. And if you look through that, you'll see there's a lot of important things we do fund. And I think it's important for us to support that. Although with times where we are with our financial picture, it's not as much as we would see in previous years. So that's how we kind of came up on that stuff. And other than that, I think we're going to spend some time Saturday on the Platte River doing some cleanup. And that's all for me tonight. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Humphrey.
Thank you for covering the Platte River cleanup. We've kind of thrown the police department under the bus a couple times at our last meetings, and I just want everybody to know that there's always two sides to every story, and I'm not sure we're entitled to both sides. So I just want us to be careful before we pass judgment on any situation, because I suspect there's always more to the story. Besides the Platte River cleanup, there is also the Alzheimer's Association walk on Saturday right out behind the senior center. So looks like that starts right around 9 o'clock if anybody wants to join us. It's for a great cause. And that's it.
Thank you. Councilman Pacheco.
I don't have anything at this time.
Yep. Councilman Hiley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to add to what Ms. DiVittorio said, that the Casper report, while it seemed to be rather mundane in the procedures of this evening, was the culmination of a huge effort by city staff, and Joy was mentioned specifically. We had the opportunity to review that in detail, and we discussed it at a previous work session, so there was really no council comments this evening, but the work session records our comments. I just wanted to say well done to Joy and those who worked on the compilation of the Casper report. It's a reflection of the quality of the employees that we have here in the city. So that comment, and just one other on the two sides of the coin. I just wanted to take a minute to promote an upcoming event. Rotary Club, Five Trails Rotary Club of Casper is holding a public, open to the public barbecue. It's called a Blue Ribbon Appreciation Night, and it's a chance for the public to come and show their appreciation for all of the law enforcement agencies here in Casper. That'll be Thursday, the 29th. At the Yellowstone Garage. It'll start at 5 o'clock, and they're serving dinner, and it's $10 a plate for the public, and it's free to officers and their families. So all you have to do is show a badge, and you'll get a free meal. So I'd encourage the public who supports the law enforcement to show out in great number. The club will do its best to serve everybody, but more importantly, come and show your appreciation for the hard job that our law enforcement agencies do in this county.
Thank you. Councilman Johnson.
I would also like to offer my prayers to the family of Brian Scott Gamroth. It was an unfortunate and painful loss for this city. And then I would also like to publicly express my condemnation some of the comments made by one of our representatives, Gerald Gay, about why he thinks women should be paid less than men. And I find those comments disgusting. They are not representative of Wyoming or Casper values. And I hope people pay attention and do their research when it comes to election this year and look at your candidates and what they stand for, because it's people like that make people grow weary of politics, and that really hurt the process when we're trying to make our community a better place. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
This last Saturday, the Natrona County Suicide Prevention Task Force held a walk at Crossroads Park that's make people aware of suicide, make people aware of Wyoming is number 4 as suicide per capita in the country. But suicide is a very damaging, destroying aspect of our life that hurts families, communities, and we need to be more open about it and try to help people recognize when you see somebody that's having issues, to visit with them, talk with them, try to help them out, and try to understand and get them the help that's needed. It's a tragic loss. Also would express the same concern as everybody else here with the loss of Brian Scott Gamroth. His BS in the morning show was wonderful. It was great to listen to driving down the road. It will be sorely missed, along with everything else that he does for the fundraising for the community and the community outreach. Beyond that, excuse me, beyond that, went to the water board meeting, and one of the big takeaways from that water board meeting I expressed earlier when the young lady came up and was visiting about water bills is this summer has been a very heavily used water season as compared to over even the last 10 years. It's in the top 3 to 4 for every month this summer. So please take a look at your water bills, but by the same token, if there are still issues and it doesn't balance out with usage per days billed, and all of that information is on the bill, please give Pete Meyer a call here at the City Hall. You can call the main number in the phone book, and they can direct you to his line. And that would be a very good starting point for issues. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Pete Myers.
What did I say?
Meyer.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. It's amazing how much of a person's essence comes through in their voice. Just, it seems to be a measure of their soul. And we did lose a voice that we have relied on for decades. And I, too, give my condolences to family and friends. Attended the water board meeting also, and also read a proclamation at the suicide walk. I limited my opening remarks to one sentence.
I always like to correct people on that. The suicide prevention walk.
Right.
There's a difference.
Okay. I was trying to make a point that I can learn, though. I can learn. And have a mayors and commissioners meeting tomorrow, and there's an event tomorrow that we could attend. There's a transit celebration at Transit Park. That's that bump right next to the Nicolation Art Museum. 9 o'clock, we're going to recognize some local stakeholders in transit issues. Marge Cole. And there's another thing to celebrate, because Casper does really care about issues like that. And the fact that we're giving CAPER reports and getting good marks from the Housing and Urban Development Department is proof that we really are keeping our act together with regard to the business of running the city. So, the next meetings of the City Council will be a work session to be held at 4:30 p.m. Tuesday, September 27th, 2016 in the council's meeting room, and a special council meeting to be held at 6 p.m. Tuesday, September 27th in the council chambers. Chair would entertain a motion to adjourn into executive session to discuss litigation and will only reconvene in order to adjourn this regular session. So this session is adjourned, and when the executive session is adjourned, the meeting is officially over. So I would entertain that motion to adjourn to executive session.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilman Miller, seconded by Councilman Johnson. Please cast your vote, and please record the vote.
With all members voting aye, motion passes.
Motion adjourned.
I think.
Yep, you're right.